The Adventures of Chanticleer and Partlet. "The nuts are ripe now," said Chanticleer to his wife Partlet. "Why don't we go up to the mountains and enjoy them before the squirrels take them all?" "With all my heart," said Partlet. "Let's make a day of it." So, off they went to the mountains. The weather was lovely, and they spent the whole day there, eating nuts until the sun began to set. Whether they had eaten so many that they couldn't walk or were simply too lazy, no one can say. But by evening, they decided it was far too undignified to walk home on foot. So Chanticleer began building a little carriage out of nutshells. When it was finished, Partlet hopped in proudly and said, "Now, my dear, harness yourself to it and pull me home." Chanticleer let out a laugh. "That's a funny thought. No, I'd rather walk. I'll drive the carriage if you'd like, but I won't be the one to pull it." While they were arguing, a duck came waddling up, quacking angrily. "You thieving vagabonds," she cried. "What are you doing on my land? You'll pay for this." And she flew at Chanticleer with a furious flap of her wings. But Chanticleer was no coward. He fought back with his sharp spurs until the duck finally cried for mercy. He agreed to spare her on one condition, that she would pull the carriage home. Grumbling, the duck gave in. Chanticleer climbed up to drive, and off they went at a good pace, with Partlet sitting comfortably inside. After a while they met a needle and a pin walking down the road. "Stop, stop," called the needle. "It's so dark we can hardly see where we're going, and the road's too muddy to walk. We've been at the inn a few miles back and drank longer than we should have. Would you give us a lift?" Chanticleer eyed them, thin little fellows who wouldn't take up much space. "All right," he said. "You can ride, but don't dirty the carriage wheels getting in, and don't step on Partlet's toes." By the time they reached an inn, it was late and dark. The duck was tired, and they decided to stay the night. The innkeeper was reluctant. Such an odd company of travellers didn't seem very respectable, but they spoke politely and offered him the egg Partlet had laid along the way. They even promised him the duck, who laid an egg every day. So the innkeeper let them stay, and they enjoyed a fine supper before going to bed. Before dawn, while everyone was still asleep, Chanticleer woke Partlet. Together they pecked a hole in the egg they'd given the innkeeper, ate it, and tossed the shells into the fireplace. Then they went to the needle and pin, who were still fast asleep, and stuck them, one into the innkeeper's chair and the other into his handkerchief. Quiet as shadows, they slipped away into the early light. The duck, who had slept outside, saw them leaving and quickly jumped into the brook, swimming off before they could stop her. A few hours later, the innkeeper got up. When he reached for his handkerchief, the pin pricked his hand. "Ouch!" he grumbled. Then he went to light his pipe, but when he stirred the fire, the eggshells flew into his eyes. "What is going on today?" he cried. "The world's against me." In a foul mood, he sat down in his easy chair, only to leap up again with a shout, for the needle jabbed him in a very unpleasant place. Now he was truly furious. Remembering the strange guests from the night before, he ran to check their room, but they were long gone. "Never again," he swore, "will I take in such a band of vagabonds. They eat well, pay nothing, and leave nothing behind but their tricks." One morning Chanticleer said, "Let's take another ride, my dear." So he built a handsome carriage with 4 bright red wheels and harnessed 6 mice to pull it. Once they were ready, they set off. A cat met them along the way and asked, "Where are you going?" Chanticleer replied, "All on our way, a visit to pay to Mr. Korbes the fox today." "Take me with you," said the cat. "With pleasure," said Chanticleer. "Climb on behind, but be careful not to fall off." Then he called out, "Take care of this handsome coach of mine, nor dirty my pretty red wheels so fine. Now mice, be ready, and wheels run steady, for we are going a visit to pay to Mr. Korbes the fox today." As they rolled along, they met a millstone, an egg, a duck, and a pin. All asked to join, and Chanticleer gladly let them aboard. When they reached Mr. Korbes's house, he wasn't home, so the mice pulled the carriage into the coach house, and everyone took a hiding place. Chanticleer and Partlet flew up to a beam, the cat crouched by the fireplace. The duck climbed into the wash basin, the pin stuck himself into the pillow, the millstone rested above the door, and the egg rolled up into the towel. Soon Mr. Korbes came home. He went to the fireplace to light a fire, but the cat threw a cloud of ashes into his face. Coughing and sputtering, he ran to the kitchen to wash up, but the duck splashed water all over him. Reaching for the towel, he found the egg, which broke and smeared yolk across his face and eyes. Furious, he stomped off to bed without supper. But when he laid his head on the pillow, the pin stuck him sharply in the cheek. Yelling in pain, he leapt up to flee the house, but as he passed through the doorway, the millstone fell straight down on his head and crushed him instantly. And so ended Mr. Korbes, whose bad temper had met its match in the strangest little party ever seen. One day, Chanticleer and Partlet went again to the mountains to gather nuts. They agreed to share them evenly between them. But when Partlet found a large, beautiful nut, she kept it to herself. Unfortunately, it was too big to swallow and it got stuck in her throat. She began to choke and gasped. "Chanticleer! Hurry, get me water or I'll die!" Chanticleer ran as fast as he could to the river. "River, please give me water," he cried. "Partlet is choking on a great nut in the mountain." The river answered, "First, go to the bride and bring me a silken cord to draw up the water." So Chanticleer ran to the bride. "Bride," he said, "please give me a silken cord, so the river will give me water for Partlet, who's choking in the mountain." The bride said, "First fetch me my garland that hangs on the willow in the garden." Chanticleer flew to the garden, grabbed the garland and brought it to the bride. She gave him the silken cord, which he took to the river. The river then gave him water, and he raced back to Partlet. But it was too late. The poor hen had already choked and lay still. Chanticleer wept bitterly. All the animals came to mourn with him. 6 mice built a tiny hearse to carry her to her grave, and Chanticleer drove them himself. On the way, they met a fox. "Where are you going, Chanticleer?" asked the fox. "To bury my Partlet," he said. "May I come along?" asked the fox. "Yes," said Chanticleer, "but sit in the back. My little horses can't pull too much weight." The fox climbed on, and soon after came the wolf, the bear, the goat, and all the beasts of the forest, following behind. When they reached a rushing stream, Chanticleer asked, "How will we cross?" A straw said kindly, "I'll stretch myself across so you can walk over." But when the mice tried to cross, the straw slipped, and all 6 mice fell in and drowned. Then a log of wood came floating by. "I'm big enough, ya," he said. "Cross over me." But they balanced so poorly that the log rolled away, and they nearly fell in again. At last, a kind stone offered to help. "Step over me," he said. This time Chanticleer crossed safely with the hearse and carried Partlet to the other side. But the fox, the wolf, the bear, and the rest were too heavy. The stone tipped and they all tumbled into the water and were swept away. Chanticleer buried Partlet himself. He built a small mound over her and sat beside it, mourning until he could no longer bear his grief. At last his heart broke. He lay down beside her grave and never rose again. And so both were gone, and the forest was silent once more. Thank you for listening to tonight's story here on Dreamlit Tales. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe for more bedtime tales, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what kind of stories help you relax most. Until next time, rest easy, dream deeply, and let your imagination carry you somewhere beautiful.